One interesting thing about this book is that it actually didn't start out as a book. Years ago, I was writing something for another book. It was a chapter in a book, and I wanted to focus on the way Jesus is actually countercultural. He's actually not a product of his time, and his time was marked by tons of racial animus, ethnic segregation, and of course, lots and lots of misogyny back in the Middle East 2,000 years ago. But he didn't display any of these things. In fact, when you look at his life, he didn't just incidentally address ethnic issues and ethnic equality issues. He purposefully addressed those issues. When he encountered women, he didn't just incidentally talk about their equality. He purposefully spoke about their equality and how they could be included in the kingdom of God just as much as any man. Now that chapter started off as a chapter, but it swelled from 20 pages to 40 pages to 70 pages to almost like 90 pages or something like that. And I realized you can't submit a 90-page chapter for a book. So I called my agent and I said, hey, I think I have a book here. Not just a chapter, but an entire book. What do you think? Especially, thinking about my background as a Middle Easterner, my background as a former religious minority. What do you think about this? And he said, let's give it a shot. And I'm grateful that it's become its own book. So this entire book didn't even start out as a book. It started out as a chapter, but ballooned quickly into a book because there's so much to write about, not just the social issues, but of course, the substantive issues when it comes to the Bible and it comes to the life of Jesus. So it didn't start out as a book, but it ended up as one. Some of the toughest chapters were those where I had to address what some have called the so-called texts of terror, which, in which Paul says that women have to remain silent in church and they can't teach and all these things. And it seems really, really harsh. And so you have to be careful because there are people for whom those passages have much pain. And you also have to be careful because you need to carefully exegete or go through and explain those verses in a way that's faithful to the original intention of what the Bible actually says, but also in a way that can give plenty of context so that that original intention can actually be heard and understood. And those are very, very difficult chapters to write. But it actually is interesting because when you look at the person of Christ as he encountered women, for example, and you even look at the life of Paul and the way he addressed women in very, very favorable terms, your hope is revived and the difficulty is eased because the Bible itself actually helps you to get through the difficult passages. In other words, difficult passages in the Bible are actually made easier by other passages in the Bible which give you a fully orbed view of what the message actually is.